Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our today's webinar titled From Page to Practice, Mastering SBA and Lesson Planning. I'm Alex Holder from Macmillan Education, and we have with us Nadia, Social Studies lead teacher in Jamaica, who was part of the review team for the new Success at CSEC Social Studies book. And we are happy to have her here with us on this second webinar discussing the text. Like I said, the topic today is from page to practice, mastering SBA planning. So I would like you all to know just a little bit of housekeeping. Before I let Nadia take over the session, please be sure to utilize the chat box. It's open for everyone. If there's any trouble or any questions or any concerns or queries, please be sure to use the chat box. We have with us today Tamisha, one of the co-authors of the title as well. So she's here to assist in any questions that you might have also. And keep in mind also that you will be receiving a certificate of attendance automatically shortly after the webinar is ended. The webinar is recorded, as you might have heard when you joined, and it will be uploaded to the Macmillan Caribbean YouTube channel in due course, which can also be shared with your colleagues, those that could not have made it today. This link will be emailed to you. There will be a short survey that will also be emailed with your certificate at the end of the webinar. So we're asking kindly for you to complete it so that we can use that to help us to really digest and retain your feedback for future use. At this time, I would like to invite Nadia to introduce herself and to take over the presentation for today.
Thank you, Alex. Good evening, everyone. Let me know if you're hearing by just giving me a little thumbs up. Great. Great. All right, so I see persons are joining from right across the Caribbean, yes, Jamaica, Mexico, Trinidad. I see my Kingston bookshop colleagues and some of my other colleagues. Welcome. Welcome. I'm thrilled and excited to be a part of this community and also the series of webinars that is being offered by Macmillan Caribbean. And so, again, my name is Nadia Elliott, and I'm an educator in the secondary school system. I'm a part of the review team with Macmillan, and I currently teach social studies, Caribbean studies, and tourism. So, let's get into this evening. I am grateful for your presence and I appreciate taking time out this evening to join us. So we can use the chat box as we go through the presentation for questions and comments. I also want to welcome co-author Tamisha Jacobs, who is with us. Tamisha.
Good evening, everyone. Happy to be here.
Great, great. Thank you. Yes. So that is one of the co-authors of the text that we will be using this evening. All right, so we're going to begin. So again, the title for our presentation, From Page to Practice, Mastering SBA and Lesson Planning with Success at CSEC Social Studies. And this evening, we're here to just share and to empower each other's teachers in ways that we can support our students and how we can effectively navigate the text, all right, to cover the SBA. Okay. Just give me a minute, please. Okay. So we will be looking at how to use Success at CSEC Social Studies to effectively teach the SBA requirements. We will be exploring ways to plan lessons using the book's cross-referenced content, and also to gain practical strategies for supporting students at each SBA stage. So at the end of this webinar, these are the objectives that we hope to achieve. So let's start and get our brains in rev mode with this little icebreaker. So I would like you to spot 5 differences in both pictures. So some persons may opt to use the chat, and if you wish to speak, you can just raise your hand. All right, I see the comments coming in. So so one we have so far is the eraser. One pick has the eraser missing. Yes. So one pick has 2 green plants while the other has green and yellow. Yes. The button on the lamp, definitely. Great. Yes. And the bows. The cat's tail is in a different position. Great. Great. Nice. Yes, one picture has the eraser missing. All right. So we are ready and raring to go. If you're ready, let me see a thumbs up. All right, thank you. Good. All right, so I would like for you to share your feedback by scanning the QR code, or you can visit the link. Alex, could you also post the link in the chats for me, please?
Already ahead of you.
Okay, great. So I see the responses are coming in. And most persons are saying that formulating, analyzing and interpreting data is the stage of the SBA that they find most challenging. And up next is formulating questions, which is also a challenging area as well, definitely. All right, great. Is there anyone who would like to share why the analysis and interpretation of data is a challenging section? All right. Alex, are you seeing those hands?
I'm seeing hands, but it's still preferred that the comments can't come through the chat. I don't believe that the audio will allow.
Okay, okay. All right. So we can share our comments in the chats. Let me check there. Okay. Students fail to grasp this section simply out of fear. Students do not know how to analyze or break down data. Yes. They do not know how to analyze the data that was collected and presented, nor interpret what the data means based on the purpose of the research or in relation to the research questions. Yes. Students don't like to read as well, so researching documents and using them for reference is also difficult. All right, great, great, thank you. So I believe that the challenges that we're experiencing with the SBA is common to many of us. All right. And of course, for the most part, when we get to the analysis and interpretation of data, that's where we find the most challenge outside of formulating suitable questions. All right. So later in the presentation, we're going to see how we can best address those. So in looking at the SBA, let me just reiterate the importance of the SBA. And it is that so the SBA is 20% of students' final grade. And so because of that, they need to understand that irrespective of how well you do the SBA, you also need to prepare for the exams. All right. But at least they would score at least 20% of their final grade through this research project. It helps to build real world research, communication, and analytical skills. And of course, this is seen based on the requirements of the CSEC syllabus. Students have to carry out these processes, and in so doing, it is helping them to build their skills, not only within the classroom, but further in their careers. It offers a comprehensive assessment of students' knowledge and beyond that, of the traditional exam and learning process. So once they open themselves to assimilate the information and to conduct the steps properly, then it should help them to build their knowledge base and to move them away from just responding to questions. All right, it also allows students to engage in continuous learning, as we know that the project is ongoing, and it helps to encourage consistent study habits and allow engagement with the material throughout the year. And finally, in the new syllabus, there are higher expectations for research, planning, and execution, as we see the SBA being integrated throughout the syllabus in specific objectives, all right? And so because of that, students have to learn these skills as they are learning other areas of the content. All right. So did you know that the text has the following key areas? So in the Success for Social Studies text, there are some key icons that basically helps us as teachers to know how to navigate our way through the text. And these icons are also critical in manipulating and utilizing the text. So we have, like, for example, checkpoint activities, the activity icon, the homework icon, the magnifying glass. We have the alternative paper icon and also the SBA. So the textbook opens with detailed chapters or key pages on pages 5 to 6 that we can use as teachers and also students as well. And the key is very meticulous, as it sets the stage not only for lesson planning, but also for SBA instruction and execution. So as we can see from the sample, the checkpoints, the activities, etc., it helps us to handle different tasks, different activities and topics, and this is beneficial to the teaching and learning process. The text also focuses on student-centered learning and student-centered learning also from the 21st century skill perspective. And so the SBA component in and of itself, what it does or seeks to do is to help students to play an active role in learning the contents of the social studies syllabus. All right, it gives them choice, it gives them autonomy, and also it serves as a mean to pique their interest in a specific subject area or topic. And many times they normally choose topics that speak to them in some way. Okay, so the SBA also facilitates problem solving, communication, all right, and it offers significant SBA support, which we will see later down, all right, and it also provides an opportunity for students to work in groups, and so they learn their collaborative skills and their communication skills. So the concept of real-world applications in dealing with issues that they may be researching and problem solving is evident in the SBA, right? Especially where the discussion and the analysis takes place. And this is a skill that, unfortunately, many of our students are lacking. All right, so the SBA gives them an opportunity to practice these skills. So creativity, innovation, integrating ICT, also allowing teachers to use various instructional methods and assessment types to help them to meet the needs of our students. And of course, to help us achieve our desired outcomes. So as we can see, these are some excerpts from the text on there are various maps, case studies, and what it does, it helps students to see the reality of what they're learning in the Caribbean context. So one of the outstanding features of this text as well is there are numerous case studies for every section of the syllabus, section A and section B. For all topics, there are case studies which helps us to see real life issues affecting Caribbean countries, all right? Not necessarily the ones that they live in, but also other Caribbean countries in a means to extend their knowledge base. All right. So as we can see here, there's a case study on Trinidad and Tobago's culture and arts, giving them a glimpse of what culture is like in Trinidad. There's also one on malnutrition in the Caribbean, and that is something that may trigger a discussion on food security or food insecurity, right? Which is something that is affecting many Caribbean countries. So sometimes students will hear about these issues and they see it far-fetched outside of the region, but these case studies and examples is a means to help them to look at it from not just their national perspective, but also from a regional level. So in the text, there is a framework for the SBA that outlines every section of the SBA and the steps that should be taken to complete the research project. So now that we have looked at the textbook as a source for the SBA, let's talk about the textbook as a template for the SBA. And this template is comprehensive and it gives a fulsome look at the breakdown of the SBA for every section. So it starts off with giving an overview of what is required, what the SBA is about, okay, the allocation for each paper, paper 1, paper 2, and if they're doing the alternate paper or the SBA, all right? So students sometimes tend to think that completing the SBA is it, or they don't need to complete a proper SBA, all right? But when we give them this breakdown, it will help them to see exactly what it is, the steps that they need to take, and the marks allocation for each, right? And of course, the importance of it. What is also helpful is that it lays out each section of the SBA with examples of how you can deal with each section and the marks for it. All right. And of course, this is a different approach from texts that we have used in the past, which would actually just place paragraphs in the text, right? And what would happen is that many of our students would just copy the sample that is given there without lending too much thinking and helping them to complete the task effectively. All right, so many of them would just cut and paste. The framework also takes into account how we can complete the SBA. Now, this is a sore point for many of us as teachers. The SBA is really an uphill task, all right? But we have a framework that we can use to help us to pace ourselves and also to give the students some structure, right? Because one of the things I find is that the more we have structure, the more we have deadlines that we stick to, it helps them to complete. And it also gives us time if there are things that we need to fix, any damage control, stuff like that, we can adjust it. All right. So it highlights for students as well as for teachers how we can start. So for example, normally we would start looking at topics, what topics they are interested in, what it is that they want to research, and why is it that these topics are something. And also sometimes they come with topics that are not necessarily researchable based on the time frame and other factors. So what we see here is that we have a framework of what it is that we need to cover. So during the last term of grade 10, that's when I would normally start the SBA. Okay, so that we can have enough time to look at, give them time to look at what it is. Sometimes they have more than one topic in mind. All right, and they can also do a little background research on this area that they're interested in to look at the scope of it. So leading down into the summer break, as much as is possible, they would be going off with a topic in mind, okay? And to say, this is what I'm going to look at, and they can start working on their instruments. By the time we're back in the first term of fifth form, then if we are not finished with the problem statement and the reasons, at least there would be something that we would have already started working with, right? Which would make it a little less tedious for us to complete. All right. Also, another benefit of this is that students are also reminded of ethical research practices, right? Which a lot of times it's left up to the teacher to emphasize. We have to keep emphasizing it, all right? But now the students can see for themselves the importance of adhering to ethical practices when conducting research. So this is a tool that we can use to help us to complete and also provide some scaffolding for the students. So let's look at this. So this is page 27, and it suggests various activities that we can use in class. So if when we're looking at formulating our problem statements or research questions, all right, we realize that it has characteristics of a good research question, which we could do a checklist activity here. All right. So for example, we could give several research questions and students would have to, based on the characteristics, they would have to decide if this is a good research question or if it's a bad. And of course, we can adjust it to ask reasons why you think this is a good research question or not. Yes? So we also see that there are suggested questions as well that is given in the text. We can use these activities throughout the 5 E's that we're doing to use them as activities to help the students before we actually look at their individual or group topics. All right, because I find many times when we do these preliminary activities, it helps the students a little bit more instead of just saying, okay, select a topic. What are your research questions? What it is that you want to find out? And they don't necessarily get any practice with doing this part of the research. And so it puts us under a lot of pressure. Okay? And we see in the last part here, it's for each question, give a reason why it is a good or a bad question. So this will help them to think beyond just submitting a research question to Miss, all right, to Miss or Sir. But they can actually look, whether by themselves or in groups, look at the questions. Why is it that this is something that is worth researching, using the characteristics given above. So this looks at the method of investigation, and we see here we have some very most common methods of investigation, factors, why it is appropriate, and also guidelines on how to address this section. So we have clear explanations here on questionnaires, the interview guides, etc. And also there at this point, we could use an activity, let's say, for example, a discussion board, or we could give them a matching activity. So we give characteristics of each method and you allow them to match it. All right. You could also do a true or false activity using the features of each method or who am I. And so these are various ways that we can integrate these activities for this particular section. And especially when it comes to the method of investigation, a lot of times they are unable to make the connection with the method and the question that they're doing. All right, leading into who's going to be a part of the sample and an appropriate instrument to use to collect the data. So here we see we have the data collection instrument, and it gives us guidelines. Data collection instrument, guidelines that you should use. How do you design your data collection instrument? And for every type of instrument, it also tells you where to find it in the text. So for example, you select a topic based on some of the suggested questions that is in the text. And then now, for all the other steps leading down, you could take this. This is in and of itself a lesson that you could take students through to help them to select the most appropriate method and give a reason. So they would now have to justify why this method is important, right? Or why is this method feasible to conduct the study? And of course, start designing their instrument that they will use. And when we look at these activities as well, colleagues, we realize that it uses an inquiry-based approach and also what we call a constructivist approach. So the students have to get involved, they have to participate. But the idea is that they're not just doing it to complete a task, but they are learning from the process. All right. And these activities, we're saying that we can use them before we actually look at their specific SBA that they will be doing for themselves, or for their groups. All right, so this looks at the presentation of data, and throughout the text, there are different excerpts, or what we call fact files, that looks at different types of presentation, their usefulness, when it is that they are used, right? And also examples. So what we're saying is that we are now able to pull this information in planning our lessons. All right, we don't have to just say, oh, go and do your presentation of data. All right, but there is no practical examples for students to see, because one of the things I've also realized is that a lot of our students, they are visual learners. All right, when we are doing instruction, they like to see the visuals, so they can immediately get a picture in their mind. This is what I need to use in my project, or this is a possible option for me to use. All right. And sometimes we send them out to do the research, but it doesn't necessarily manifest when they come back to class. All right. And so the text provides various types of charts and graphs that we can use in the presentation, and also why each is appropriate. Okay, so students don't just use a bar graph or a histogram or a line graph, but you are able to point them and to say, this is appropriate. If you are presenting variables, this, you would use bar graphs, etc. If you are showing trends over time, a line graph would be more appropriate, and for other types of presentation as well. So in doing the presentation of data, some of the activities that we can use: field work. We can have, they could do like a community snapshot. So they're looking at issues in their community that they are interested in doing, and you allow them to just do a mini research. So they collect the data, they come back, and you work through this part of the project in class so that they're able to see it and able to get a feel of what it is that they need to do for their own project. It could also be something as it relates to the budget, okay? Many of our students, they don't necessarily sit and listen to the budget presentation, but we can decode it. We bring some of that information to class, and we do, or we organize how we would present this data depending on what it is that we're looking at, so that they can see the relevance of the information and also how it is that they can present information that is related to this, all right, or similar information. As we go on to the analysis and interpretation of data, we look now at how we analyze and interpret. And this section, which is the one that really gets us, most times we have to spend a lot of time. Sometimes we have to give them it to go back and do. How is it that we are supposed to analyze? We collect this data. Yes, we can do the charts and the graphs and the other forms of presentation. Yes, but how is it that we can analyze the data? What does it mean to analyze the data? All right. And so what we find is that throughout the text, we have cross-reference sections that looks at this in depth. So for example, we see that your analysis should also relate back to step one, and we can take them back to step one. When you're analyzing your data, how it is that you organize the data before you start to analyze it, okay? And it must always go back to the issue, because sometimes I find that students, because we say do the analysis and interpretation, they start and they are just basically describing the graphs. Figure 1 says this, figure 2 says that, figure 3, yes, but is it really an analysis and interpretation that is taking place? So here are some of the tips. Summarize the problem. Look at your target group, all right? And talk about some of the things that you have observed. Write statements and give your opinions on the results. So we take them through that process. Summarize the information, and we let them know that summarizing the information doesn't mean that you are completing an analysis. Yes, but that's a part of the process. Write the statements based on what it is that you have found out. Look back at figures, tables, and even the reasons for selecting the area of research, and tie that in with the data that you have collected. Terminology is also important, so we help them to see how they can use transitional words such as additionally, the majority, minority, major trends highlighted, and such the like. All right. Remember to also refer to your secondary sources, look at diagrams and how it is that the diagrams are presented and the order, and remember to write using the third person. So in a nutshell, all of this, we can take as much time as we need, but it helps us to break down how it is that we would approach doing this section of the project. Oh, and before I move on, you would see I have 2 activities here, like a think, pair, share, and discussion board. I find that when we allow students to share, whether in pairs or in groups, what they observe about the data, it helps them to build their confidence and also their competence in completing the analysis and interpretation of data section for the SBA. So we move on to our statement of findings. And this is where you summarize what it is that the research has shown. And again, we have activities that we're able to use, and we realize as well that the activities are at different degrees. So there are some activities that are more geared for knowledge acquisition, and then we have others that are more for use of knowledge, helping them to use the information. And this is to help them to think outside of the literal, okay, and to improve and build on their various comprehension levels. At this stage as well, we can also use checklists and rubrics, which are extremely useful in helping students to assimilate this section. So you're summarizing the main findings. We can ask for 5 things that you found out from the data. All right. And then as an activity, we look back at the information and we tick or we check the 3 that are the main findings. And I normally say that they should relate. You must always go back to your research questions. All right. And in the text, it gives us the pointers. Use clear, straightforward language. On a scale of that, it also tells us to keep in mind the original question that is asked. So we go back again to our questions and ensure that our findings relate to that. Yes. It also says emphasize the most important results that directly answer your research question. So we can take the students through these steps using the activities that are suggested. And one of the things I must point out as well is that for every topic, there are suggested SBA topics that we can pull from. Students can use them for their research, but they can also use them for class activities. All right. So we're helping them to acquire the necessary skills, not just to complete the SBA colleagues, but also to learn how to write, how to express themselves. Okay. All right, so the recommendations now, here we have a very detailed criteria for developing each recommendation. So your recommendations should directly answer your research question, your data analysis, your findings. They must address problems. Many times we see students writing, and when they're at the recommendation stage, it's almost as if they don't know what to write, what it is that should be in the recommendation. But we have not only an example of a recommendation, but the criteria, which is very important. What it is that I need to have in, what makes up a suitable recommendation. So we can look at the fact that it must relate to your research question. It should address problems. It should be realistic. And then when you choose your recommendations now, it must say what it is that you're going to do to implement it. Who needs to be involved? Is there any finding that supports this, and how long it may take? So I normally say, let's look at the W's. Who will do it? What it is that will be done? When? What time frame? And how it is that this action that you are recommending, how is it that it will be done? All right? And it offers us tips as well on how to accurately measure and assist the students to complete this part. So we are at the point where we're going to look at a sample lesson on a section of the SBA. So we see lesson planning from a glance. So let me point out in the
Sorry, Nadia, to interrupt. We're not seeing your presentation, just so you know.
Okay. Give me a minute. Let me check. All right, still not seeing it?
Alex, I'm seeing it on my end.
Oh, sorry, and that's probably my fault. I'm sorry. I'm just seeing Nadia on my end, which is great. So please do continue.
Okay. All right. Yes, I'm coming to a question and answer section. So definitely we will give some time for persons to ask questions. All right. Okay, let's take a 2 minute break. Let me adjust something here. All right. Okay, so let me check if you are seeing what's on my screen. Give me a thumbs up. All right, great. Great. All right. All right, so I was pointing out that in each chapter of the text, it begins with objectives that gives us a clear layout of what it is that needs to be taught and how it is that we can execute it. So, as I mentioned before, that the chapters include checkpoints, which opens up the 5E lesson plan objective of engagement. Okay, I'm gonna pause a minute. Aparna Tucker, Alex, could you?
Sorry, please repeat.
Yes, I'm seeing a raised hand.
And
Not sure if the person is not hearing me.
can you raise your hands again?
All right, maybe it was an error.
Okay.
Okay, I figured. All right. So the checkpoints, they serve as an avenue to basically help students to define, question, or discuss points, whether as an icebreaker or as an opener for each topic. And so we also looked at the case studies, and what the case studies do is to push the students to explore. Okay, and so now these are things that we can use in the explore stage of the 5E lesson planning. The case studies also help them to look at the situation and look at it from the perspective that is presented there, but also to give their perspective and view on the situation as well. All right, added to that, the case studies, they also come with questions. All right, so there are questions that you can use to help them to guide their discussions and the engagement part of the lesson planning. elaboration and evaluation would now come from the activities that prompt students whether to research, to do group work, to complete an activity, and to give examples. And so what we are seeing is that we are able to plan a 5E lesson using the features of the text seamlessly. And not only for the topics, but also for the SBA component. So what we have here is a sample plan on completing the method of investigation. That's the first one. And then what we have also done is to do a weekly SBA plan, how it is that we would cover the sections of the SBA and how the text can support us in navigating that. So I'm going to ask Alex to post the first link in the chat, and I will give teachers some time to look at it.
First link is available.
Thank you. All right, so I just want us to look at the lesson plan, and then I want you to share your comments, your feedback. And so, of course, we would tweak or adjust the lesson plan based on our context. All right. And, you know, colleagues, one of the things I think we have to look at too is to remember that at the CSEC level, many students are just being introduced to doing this type of research. All right. And so we have to make it as manageable as possible, still following the guidelines, but also try to simplify and also give them practical activities to help them, so that when they are doing their own SBA, it doesn't seem far-fetched. So for example, let's look in the plan. We could start with just looking at meal consumption or breakfast consumption at school. All right. And we allow students to, within the class itself, conduct that data collection. All right. So we could give them a little poll or allow them to do a little poll in groups. All right. And then we take them through an introduction. When we talk about methods, what do we mean by the method of investigation, and how it is that this is going to be applied to the SBA that I'm doing or to the topic that I'm doing. All right. And then, of course, we divide them into teams or groups, and we look at specific ones. Take them to the text and allow them to use the information and, of course, other supporting materials that we have. All right. Allow them to read through it, give them specific areas that we want them to look at. So you must know what is the method, how it works, when is it appropriate. Give me a strength and a weakness of using this method. All right. And then we allow them to share, because the more they share is the more they're going to learn from each other. And then while we're doing that, we can also develop a rubric, all right, to assess participation and have a checklist to see if they're meeting the criteria, if they understand the methods that we're looking at. And then we give them some more time. All of this may not be done in a single session, all right? As you would realize, for some of the steps, I would have an approximate time frame that we would complete this aspect of the SBA, all right? And so when we're taking them through that, we allow them to present and they can critique each other. And then we allow them to present the information, whether visually or orally and visually. Okay, and then we give feedback. Yes, allow them to create even the rubric. All right, so we have to get them involved, because sometimes the reality is we don't have the time to teach it in depth, or as in depth as we would like to. But with the activities outlined in the text, we can help to offer some more support and also to make the teaching and learning process a little smoother for us. All right, so I am going to check the chats. Alex, let's check the chats to see any comments.
Oh, the chat has been extremely active. Tamisha's been engaging quite a bit. And I don't think there's a stone unturned, unless you have a comment to add specifically to Michaela's comment. She says she doesn't think that something. So that's why in the
Oh, yes, I'm
syllabus CSEC
seeing it now.
suggested that there,
I
yeah,
was
three
just
types of
about to
graphs.
respond. I was just
All right.
about to respond. I think she was sharing that she doesn't think that the SBA lend itself to the use of line graphs. I was just commenting that it depends on what the students in the whatever they indicate that their topic is, then it might be a case where they can use a line graph. I'm not sure, correct me if I am wrong, but I think it's on page 70 to 73 or 74 in the syllabus. They basically would have suggested, provided examples of graphs that students can use.
Can use, yes.
It didn't say definitely that you can't use some, because I think that is why in the rubric, in the mark scheme, it would outline in the presentation of data that data presented in 3 different ways which are appropriate.
Appropriate, that's the
Right.
key.
So I
Yes,
guess it depends on what the students would use. I don't think there are any restrictions in terms of saying to the students that you can't use a line graph,
line
because
graph.
if their topic lends itself to them doing a line graph. A typical example, take for instance, the students are looking at unemployment rates. That might be something that they can trend, like trending unemployment rates and so on. That might be a topic that would lend itself to a line graph for population change or something like that.
Right.
So
And
it depends
even
on the topic.
yes, Tanisha, even as it relates to the example with unemployment, I have seen where students have looked at it across communities and also across demographics. All right, so they don't just look at it as it relates to one particular group. Okay, and so it depends. It depends on the perspective or the angle at which they're going to take it from. But one of the things I found as well is that not a lot of students do research that looks at trends over time. But you may still have a few that does that.
And that is true, because I think it boils down to it being manageable. And in terms of manageability, most students tend to go for, topics that would just, they would do a bar graph, a pie chart, and a table, right? So.
Right, right. Okay. All right, let me see.
Okay, I see somebody asking about group and individual work. You can actually do both, because when you are submitting, they allow you to submit an SBA individually, and it allows you to group students, right? From my personal experience, I would have had situations where I would have grouped the students, but then for some reason, that one child who decide that they were not going to contribute, you know, broke off from the group and started something on their own. And so it is okay if that, if your comfort as well, if you would consider that something, what by yourself, I would grade you still. That's fine. You can
Right.
group, and you can also mark them individually. And for me personally, I don't allow more than 5 persons in a group. That's maximum for me, because what you do not want is for all the work to be, on one group of students, 3 or so persons doing the work, and the others just basically just getting by. You don't want that at all. So you want to, you know, make the group small so that everybody can pull their weight.
Right. Right. And myself as well, I normally don't allow more than 3 persons to work together. And one of the things we have to do as well, colleagues, group work is something that we have to teach, right? We have to help them to understand how to navigate the challenges of group work. So we can't just say, okay, go in groups and you're to do this, all right? We have to model and provide that support to help them to know that each person, it's not just to do a section of the SBA, but you should be working collaboratively on it as you go along, all right? And so each person needs to know what is happening with the SBA, and not because I'm supposed to do the presentation of data, I don't know what is in the analysis and interpretation. I don't know what are the findings, etc. I'm seeing someone was asking if a topic, an investigation of factors that influence where people in my country live. Yeah, the topics are not, we can't just lift the topics and use them as statement of the problem for the research. We have to adjust them, right? We have to contextualize them. But I believe that it provides ideas for us and also the students as well. Because sometimes they come with some topics and the scope, how they have it in mind to look at it. It's not really, it's too wide, right? It's not practical, right? It's not feasible in the time frame that they have to do the SBA. But what it does, it provides us with a guide, right? Or a framework that we can work with. All right. Okay, so let's look at this question. Let me go back to it. All right, the chats are running a little bit faster than I can see. All right. All right, Tamisha, help me I'm trying to find back the comment about the topic, what the topic was.
Or you're trying to find the participants who posted the question.
The question, right. Because one of the things we remember as well, colleagues, is that when we are doing the SBA, the variables have to be specific and you must be looking at 2 variables. All right. All right, so we're coming back to that. It's better. So what I normally do as well, colleagues, when we're doing questions, your question must have variables. There must be your target audience. Who is it that you will be collecting the data from? Who is your sample, right? Where it is that this research will be carried out. Which school or which community, which area, all right? And so that is how I would normally approach when we're doing the first section of the SBA. All right, I see somebody asking about, see a sample of the SBA, that's Ronell. Unfortunately, I did not include a sample of the SBA in this presentation. All right, but I can provide my contacts that we can speak outside of the session.
Okay, I think somebody asked about the variables. If you go to the syllabus on page 71, there are some specific guidelines for the project. I think the first one states that select a problem to investigate and write it as an appropriate question or statement. No more than 2 variables should be included in a problem statement. So no more than 2 variables.
Right. That's what I know. No more than 2. As someone is asking about 6 persons to a group, I'm not sure of that. One, I know of 5. Someone is asking, should demographic information be structured in the statement of the problem? Could you elaborate on that a little for me?
Okay, I think somebody was also, I think it's a private message though, but
Message of
yes, you can use diagrams.
no, demographic information.
Oh, I think somebody was asking about if diagrams can be used in the presentation of data. That's something that they would have outlined in number 6 on page 71 of the syllabus. Diagrams, maps, photographs, whatever is appropriate,
Yeah.
can be used.
Oh, demographic information as it relates to age range of the target group. I do allow my students to do that. Some students can look at, let's say, for example, causes and effects of unemployment among women in Kingston Gardens community. If you look at 2 variables, cause and effect, again, will that not affect the word limit? What we have to do is we have to help them to write using a lot of the transitional words, and because I find depending on the vocabulary level of the students, some are able to summarize better than others. All right. And so I think that is where our input comes in terms of, and that is why I'm saying, when they get the practice in class with these activities, then I think they are better able to translate, or we're helping them to translate that in doing their own SBA. Okay. So my other, okay, excuse me. Let's get back this. A minute, please. All right, so this other link, Alex, could you post this one in the chat as well? This is just for general information and approach on how it is that we can look at the SBA over a couple of weeks. Because I find when we have a structure that we are working with, it helps us to organize ourselves mentally and also to plan ahead and to pace how it is that we're going to cover it, so that by the time we're in the second term of the fifth form year and we know what that means as it relates to covering the SBA, especially if the students are not cooperating with the process. Thank you. All right. And so I am coming down. So these are just some ideas as to what we can do to help our students, take them through the process of completing the SBA. So we can have group critique of sample research questions, design checklists, allow them to do like a vox pop, a TV interview program, give them a group debate, justifying why this method is suitable for a topic. And we can have mock data collection in class. And we can also do peer review sessions. We select 1 or 2 SBAs and we go through it and involve them in the marking process, providing the rubric from the syllabus, of course. But what we're saying is that when the students have the criteria and the information from the text, then we are all working from the same place, right? So some persons are not coming with information from this source or that source that may be contrary, but we have a footprint, or let me say a framework to work with. And this brings me to the end of this evening's session. Thank you so much for sticking and staying with us. And at this time, I'm going to invite Tamisha. If there are any other questions you have as it relates to the text and SBA that we can answer.
The chat is open, so if there's anything in there, I'm pretty sure the ladies will jump on it.
Okay, I think some persons were asking about the text. If you can provide exactly where you're located, I think I would be able to assist in letting you know which bookshop has a sample copy, or which books shop has the book available for sale. I'm not sure. I think Alex would be able to speak from.
The text is available for the market. I do see a question that asks for that. But it depends on your territory. So depending on the island that you're on, we will be better able to advise. So please do state where you are so that we can direct you accordingly.
For persons in St. Vincent, a copy should be available around the middle of June at Games Bookshop. Okay, I think somebody is asking about the
For
answer.
Jamaica, we can I think most, if not all, copies would be at Kingston Bookshop. For Guyana, I cannot speak to that as yet. I will have to we will have to get back to you on that one.
I think someone was asking in terms of the answer scheme. I think we're having talks about a teacher's guide. I'm not sure where that would go as yet, but yes, that would have been considered. Because I know that there are several persons who would have raised questions about sensitive topics and so on, and found that maybe we should consider doing a teacher's guide to assist. So that's something that would be discussed. I would raise it with the team and, give some feedback in the near future.
I believe the text will be available especially in Jamaica, that is, by this year, August, July to August.
Oh, you mean for mass circulation? Yes, but there are samples that
The
should be
sample
available.
copies now.
Yes, that should be available. So if you're in Jamaica, then you can grab a sample copy. I believe Jermaine can speak to this at Kingston Bookshop. And if you're in St. Vincent, there's games, and if you're in Barbados, you can check with myself at hashtag. And if you're in Trinidad, you can check with Mohan. And so it's available for sample copying, but for mass purchase, that should be ready after the school year ends and the orders are in and the shipments are sent out. But on top of that, there are e-samples that are available for you to have a look at. And what I will try to do is to get the team to send copies out to anyone who requests it via email, so that they can have an e-sample, so that they can flip the pages, have a look and feel, well, a look, not a feel just yet, of it, and really get an idea of how the syllabus has been integrated into the copy that has been produced.
And also, Alex, if you visit the Macmillan Caribbean page on Facebook and on Instagram, there is a link that would take you to a e-sample 1 month supply. Well, you have access to it for 1 month, right? So you're able to maneuver and see.
Yes.
Okay.
And I'm also encouraging us colleagues to familiarize ourselves with the syllabus. It's extremely important. In order for us to navigate, remember that we're working with a revised syllabus. All right. And that's the reason why the text has been written to support it. And so we have to spend the time to go through the syllabus from cover to cover so that we are able to articulate and we are able to provide the support that our students need, and also to build our confidence and competence in dealing with the subject matter, not only for the content, but for the SBA as well. All right, so the text is not going to be helpful if you are not familiar with the syllabus. All right, so I'm going to provide my email in the chat. That you can reach out.
I think it might be a case to the person who is saying that the bookshop is saying that they don't have a copy. It might be a case where the samples are finished.
Yes,
It
yeah,
might
that I'm
be.
saying. Give
So
them
if
some
you-
time.
So if you're looking for a sample, it might be a case where the samples are finished. So you would have to wait until their shipment, gets to Jamaica to get a copy.
One second. Okay, I will share our e-sampling in the chat.
The chat?
Once. Yes, well, at least I hope I can.
In terms of an e-copy of the textbook, it's not on Macmillan's website as yet. That will be done soon. So you can keep checking to see when it becomes available. But I think something will be shared once it becomes available on the website. Something will be shared on the Macmillan Caribbean Facebook page so that you will be aware.
Okay, so I'm gonna put all of these in here.
And there's also a group for social studies teachers in Jamaica. That's the Jamaica Association of Social Studies Educators. So if you're not in that group, you can also reach out to me as well. And I will help you to be able to be a part of the group to the best of my ability. All right, colleagues. So thank you so much again for participating. It was really an enriching evening, and we hope that we'll be able to do another one in the series at some other time. Thanks again to Tamisha for joining in, and Alex.
No
Yes,
problem.
please.
You are most welcome. Thanks to everyone who attended as well.
Okay, everybody. Since we're on the tail end, a gentle reminder that the session was recorded and it will be available to everyone who attended. Certificates of attendance will be shared with you. And we do invite you to pass the recordings along to your colleagues when you do receive them. Also, it would be great if you could also complete the survey that would have been attached to the email that would have been sent with your certificate of attendance. And that would assist us going forward in making the webinars more interactive, less interactive, more material shared, less material shared. However we think, or you think it's best done to meet your requirements. As it stands right now, we are on the wrap up, and I am going to ensure that you receive from all those who participated today a copy of either the presentation today or a link with access to sample copies or sample access to the text, so that you are not left in doubt. So thank you again, everyone, and do enjoy your Thursday evening.